A cozy Christmas Eve in Sweden, 1830. A warm glow flows through the peaceful home. A Yule log crackles on the hearth, warming the belly of a lounging cat. Her drowsy eyes blink as she purrs, while two children watch her huddled under a blanket. Snow piles up at the windows, and the smell of spiced wine's on the stove. Bang, bang, bang! Someone's at the door. The cat flips over, eyes wide, as the father of the children walks to the source of the clatter. He turns the knob, and the peace shatters. Horned figures rush into the house, howling and singing. Men wearing animal skins and goat skulls. Pagan chaos unleashed on Christmas. By their merry yells, they sound half intoxicated. One then leaps up on the table and bleats, "Meh!" as the others descend on the house's sweets and mulled wine. The children shriek. The cat yells and scrambles under a table. Then the biggest goat holds out a present? Wait, what? Much toasting then commences, and when it's over, they depart one stronger. For the father of this house has now joined them, donning his own skins and mask, becoming part of the ancient spirit of Scandinavian Christmas, the Yule Goat. This episode is brought to you by 80,000 Hours, a phenomenal nonprofit that wants to help you find an impactful dream job. Happy holidays, extra historians! Come on over and join us as we get all hygge by the fire. That's Danish for cozy BT dubs, as we head to the snows of Scandinavia to discuss a unique Christmas tradition from Northern Europe, the Yule Goat. God, I've been waiting for this one. A cultural practice which many believe has distant roots in pagan traditions. However, we should be a little cautious here, because while it's often assumed that the Yule Goat, along with other holiday symbols like Krampus or Christmas trees, have a pagan origin, we should note that there's no direct chain of evidence for that. There are strong thematic similarities for sure, but we can't definitively prove a link. And of course, then there's the fact that many of these symbols have been Christianized for 1500 years, which makes their origins even more fuzzy. But that's actually what makes Scandinavia unique, because Christianity came to it relatively late. See, Christianity diffused into Europe via the Roman Empire and its remnants, but, well, the Romans were a Mediterranean people who weren't fans of the cold and felt like they didn't belong too far north. As a result, the area only fully converted in the Middle Ages around the years 1000 to 1100, so it's often argued they retained more of their pre-Christian cultural practices and stories. And interestingly, one animal is all over Norse beliefs. Goats! The goat of animals, you might say. They are everywhere, from stories of sacrifices and feasts to mythology, something we know a little bit about. And for this next part, I'll put on the beanie for old time's sake. In Valhalla, a goat is said to stand chewing the leaves of an enchanted tree, shooting vast quantities of mead from its udders. It was this magical tit alcohol that kept the dead heroes of Valhalla super buzzed through their eternal war/feast/keg party. Similarly, two enormous goats pulled Thor's chariot, and feature in a story where Thor, while traveling, stopped overnight with a family. Wanting a feast, he killed his goats to be roasted, but he instructed the family that the skins must be flayed, stretched, and none of the bones broken. The next morning, Thor raised his hammer and resurrected both goats. Yay! But then found one was limping. Boo. Yeah, one of the hosts had broken its leg bone to suck out the marrow. Furious, Thor seems about to destroy the family, but when they show contrition, he merely takes their children as his servants. Nice guy, Thor. Now, there are folklorists who connect this story with its themes of feasting, celebrations, and resurrection with the fact that Scandinavian Christmas is infested with goats. The theory goes that goats had a prominent place in pre-Christian midwinter celebrations, and that this was incorporated into Christian winter celebrations. Which, I mean, like, maybe? Look, it's possible. But this theory is really more about vibes than evidence, and we haven't done our first episode of Extra Vibes yet, so there it is. Though, let's be clear, that does not stop the top-tier goating about during Scandinavian Christmas. The most prominent appearance being the Yule Goat decoration, a straw animal tied with red ribbons. Today, they're made in all sizes, used as decorations on Christmas trees and front doorsteps. Heck, they're so common that some years you can even buy them at IKEA. Canonically, where vibes go to die. I kid, I love my kludge. Traditionally, though, these Yule Goats were made from the last sheaf of grain as a symbol of the harvest being complete, and they're probably related to similar corn dollies made at harvest in England, then buried in the sowing season. Because remember, these areas are heavily related due to the Viking expansion, which you can learn more about in our complete series here. While mostly decorative, these also used to be part of an elaborate winter prank game. someone would make a large Yule goat, say the size of a dog, and then hide it around their neighbor's house, perhaps on their roof or in the backseat of their car. The victim, startled, would then be required to hide the goat for someone else. And this tradition of using Yule goats as a form of prank has mutated into a bizarre legacy involving the most famous straw goat, the giant Yule goat erected annually in Gävle, Sweden. First erected in 1966, the Yule Goat has graced the town square since, but only 16 times has it survived to Christmas. Every other year, vandals and pranksters have destroyed it, usually by burning it down. But why? Well, basically because it's flammable and people think it's funny. Most years it's a straightforward lighter situation, you know? But as authorities have tried to prevent it by chemically fireproofing the goat or soaking it with hoses so it iced over, the saboteurs too have become more inventive. One year it was hit by a car. Another year, two vandals dressed as Santa and a gingerbread man shot it with a flaming arrow. Another year, a new security system outfitting the area with cameras was taken offline in a hack before it was burned again. And in 1985, it was burned despite being guarded by soldiers. Please keep in mind, this is expressly illegal. Burning the goat carries a hefty fine and even jail time, yet people still do it. And as a result, the Yule Goat has become a world-famous tourist attraction, which probably is for the best since Gävle's only other claim to fame is connected to one of Sweden's nastiest witch trials. But it isn't all straw goats, you know? Until the early 20th century, as we depicted at the beginning of this episode, the, quote, Yule Goat would visit your house. This was known as julebuking, and it was a sort of combination of wassailing and trick-or-treating. Like other traditions of this type, the Yule buckers would come by the house to sing and perform, and in return receive food and drink. And of course, much like wassailing, see last year's holiday episode for more on that, the menacing nature of the goat costume and the home invasion portion had a sort of undertone of, pay up or we trash the place! In fact, it's been suggested performers were often seasonally unemployed agricultural laborers who needed extra help to get them through to planting time. Though julebuking was unique in that one member of a visited house had to then costume up and join the rowdy procession as they carried on to the next location. Yet again, much like with wassailing, as Scandinavia moved into the mid-19th century, the Yule Goats got less rowdy. First of all, they started bringing presents rather than taking them, serving as a kind of Santa-like gift-giving figure. Next, they started becoming more human. No one knows exactly why, but it's probably because the goat invasions were frickin' terrifying. So the Yule Goat didn't fill that role of a gift giver all that well in its original form. At the same time as the 19th century progressed, media depictions of other Christmas gift-giving figures made popular in poetry, Christmas cards, and art started to take over the culture. Some were foreign. In certain parts of Scandinavia, the Yule Goat morphed into the Yule Man, a bearded figure influenced by the British Father Christmas and American Santa Claus. Yet, despite this transformation, in Finland, he's still called the Yule Goat, and occasionally, pictures of this Yule Man will have him riding a sleigh drawn by goats. So it's all tied together. In other countries, some gift-giving duties were passed on to folkloric elf-like creatures called Nisse in Norway and Tomte in Denmark, said to be household sprites that take care of plots of land. Often portrayed in Christmas cards and wooden dolls, sometimes riding goats. These creatures have become cuter in the last century, as well as adopting the red pointy hat from Santa Claus. I mean, look at them, they are pretty adorable. Which is just kind of super neat, right? Here we have winter traditions that may stretch all the way back to before written records, which have stuck around long enough to be shaped by Victorian moralism and mass media. Again, these are possibly ancient pre-Christian symbols that have survived so long that you can buy them at IKEA, which Rob has done. It sits beside his Krampus ornament, Niso figures, and Yule Lad. Though he is still holding out for that Catalonian poop log, those things are apparently hard to come by in Hong Kong. Maybe we can get him one in the mail. But whatever figure helps you celebrate the season, whether it's a Krampus, Kagatillo, Frau Persta, the Yule Goat, or a very, very wax-caked menorah or kinara, all of us at Extra History wish you and yours the happiest of holiday seasons and hope that your new year is truly the GOAT. Of course, a greatest of all time way to kick off your 2025 might just be finding that new job that not only you'll love, but that can actually make a difference, you know? Since on average we spend, like 80,000 hours on our career. That's 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year for 40 years. which means your career is probably the biggest opportunity you have to make a positive impact in the world. And look, I know that planning your career can be really overwhelming, but that's why I'm psyched today to tell you about 80,000 Hours. 80,000 Hours is a nonprofit that helps people find careers with a strong social impact for free. And their work, based off of a decade of research alongside academics from Oxford University, can help you find a job that's both fulfilling and meaningful. They've got tons of research on their website to help you learn about what makes for a high-impact career, loads of decision-making tools for selecting a new impactful path, and then to put into action what you learned. 80,000 Hours has this amazing job board with tons of cultivated listings. For instance, I just saw that the Center for AI Safety, which is a group working on reducing high-consequence risks from artificial intelligence, has openings at multiple levels. That sounds pretty impactful to me in this day and age. And again, because 80,000 Hours is a nonprofit that is philanthropically funded, there is no endgame gotcha mechanic or hidden paywalls. All of their material is free, always. To get started, simply head to 80,000hours.org/extrahistory and sign up for their free in-depth newsletter and career guide that takes you through all of the steps of making a high-impact career plan. Then check out their job board to start finding careers that are meaningful, fulfilling, and help solve the world's most pressing problems. You can do all of that by scanning or clicking here. And then once you've figured out your future, why not check out another of our videos here? Oh my god, I'm so glad I caught you. Did you know that Angelo Valenciana, Arcalite Games, Dominic Valenciana, Foxdoc, Hunter Z, Joseph Blame, Kuyakoi, and Ziliad Architectures were the best legendary patrons? Well, now you do.